What was the best relationship advice you ever got?
Story 1. Discuss life goals, especially kids, and financial habits before you get married. If one person wants 6 kids and the other wants to be childless, that's not going to work. If one person has champagne tastes and spending habits, but you as a couple have a boxed wine budget, then that is a problem. More than one marriage has ended because one spouse is bad with money and refuses to live within their means. Second, on the kids thing, if you disagree, don't push it off as a future issue. It will make it worse. Resentment will build as you know what will inevitably happen. Sure, you can compromise on the amount possibly, but you can't compromise with 0. I'll never forget. I was dating wifey, and on date 2, she turns to me and says, "Can we talk seriously?" Me. "Sure." My mind is racing like the F man, it's date 2, she isn't into you, dude. Her. "I like you a lot, like a real lot. I can see our relationship going deeper, but I don't effing do kids. Never have, never will. I'm not interested in crotch fruit. I hope you can handle that. If you can't, or you think for half a millisecond I'll change my mind, I suggest you leave and we can pretend we never met." Me. "Okay, but what if I don't want kids either?" Her. "Good. I was hoping you'd say that." And here we are 10 years later, 0 kiddos. Or crotch fruit, as she calls it. Holy crap, I wish I'd known this sooner, or I did know this but didn't need my own instincts. Dated a woman for years that was like, "I'm fine living paycheck to paycheck and scraping by. I've done it all my life and I'm used to it." Cool, except she made it a point to always scrape by. Didn't matter how much money we made as a family. During my busy months, I can make $8K a month. Somehow, we'd still only barely get by or stash away very little. She was like a carp. Her spending would grow as big as the budget permitted. It was only ever going to be living paycheck to paycheck, which was insanely stressful. I'd call it constant financial terrorism. This is extremely important, and I'm glad you brought it up. This isn't the fun kind of advice that people like to hear before getting married. People seem to avoid this discussion because they're scared of what the answer may be and what they may have to do in response to an answer they don't want to hear. But it's necessary. I gave my husband multiple chances to amicably back out of our relationship when I told him I would never be able to have children because of reproductive health issues, but I also didn't want them if I had a healthy uterus. He told me that he loved me for who I was, not for what I could give him. We're still together, high school sweethearts, and he keeps me going through life even if I don't want to at times. He is my soul. Yeah, folks, it's really important that you're on the same page for that stuff. I mean, financially, I think some of that stuff people can learn and adjust and grow to, have better spending habits or worse, I don't know, whatever you two do best together. But when it comes to kids, that's important. And don't lie hoping that your partner will change their mind. I had a partner who, from like the second date, I made very clear, I'm like, "Look, just so you know, it seems like we're getting along, but I never want to have kids. I have no desire to have kids in my life, and that is not something I ever see changing. So if it's important to you, I just want to make that known now. I don't want to waste your time." And she, they were very, very adamant that they were on the same page. Absolutely. Yo, for sure. And suddenly 6 months later was going behind my back, mentioning to friends and stuff how they were going to, change my mind on this stuff. And, bringing up how, it'll be so great when we have kids. And they'd be like, "Didn't you tell him that you didn't want kids?" "I know, I know he doesn't want to have kids." And she just thought that, they thought that they could change that in me. And no. And that was a problem. So yeah, you might want to push it off because it's uncomfortable, but don't.
Story 2. There is no reason to keep score. You are both on the same team. If one or both of you starts keeping score with things, it is time to evaluate the state of the relationship and why this is occurring. On a related note, all problems can be solved, but not all problems are worth solving. Similarly, you should always feel like you're doing more than half the work, partially because this way you're not freeloading off of your partner's work, and partially because your partner probably does 100 things a week that you don't see and may not even notice. Simple stuff like wiping out the sink, dusting a surface, etc. Be a steward of your shared spaces so your partner doesn't have to do it all on their own. Effing this. Holy crap, thank you for saying it. There is no such thing as a perfect 50-50 split because of the unseen tasks that every partner has. Do more than your fair share and your partner will notice. The way I've heard it said is that each person should be aiming for a 60-40 split with themselves taking on the 60%. Always be looking for that one extra thing you can do to make your partner's life easier. If both people are doing that, then you've found the sweet spot. I think the notion you're getting at is more complicated because a lot of not keeping score scenarios can easily turn into disparities for what each person gives in the relationship and potentially concealing resentment. My wife used to have a big problem saying I didn't do enough chores. Every time she brought it up, I could name a dozen things I'd done recently. Her response was, "But you're not consistent." She seemed to mostly just be factoring in how much she perceived when she worked, and she perceives 100% of the work she does, and only work she noticed I had done, which is less than 100%. If I do the dishes after she falls asleep, put down insecticide in the garden, or take care of the baby while she works overtime, then these kinds of things tend to not get noticed very accurately. We didn't work out because of her leading a long-distance double life with another man, but I'm trying to learn anything I can from that whole debacle so that I'm not bringing any dysfunction on my part into the next marriage. I think keeping a reasonably accurate but more importantly cooperative account of who does what and who is paying for what is actually very important. It's when divvying out chores or paying bills is done combatively that you have a problem. When you're doing it cooperatively, then it's good communication that leads to better equity of work and finances. Less, you don't do anything around the house, you're a bad spouse and need to do better, and more, I do 70% of the chores, and I'd like to sit down with you to try to figure out how to do this more evenly.
I think there's a middle ground here as far as like keeping score. Like, yeah, don't keep score. Don't be like, oh, I keep doing all this work and they're, not doing as much. And, that's not healthy. But as the last commenter said and everything, also be forward about discussing these things. If something is weighing on you, you should, I keep on saying it on this channel, communicate. You need to communicate with your partner. You need to be able to say like, look, I feel like, I'm taking on a lot of these little things. I'm wondering if there's a way that we can balance things, whatever. However you're going to do it, open communication is really important. And yeah, but at the same time, don't hold weird grudges with your partner. They're your partner, not your opposition.
Story 3. Practice active listening to understand each other better. What would active listening look like? Engagement. There isn't a movie in the background and you're not on your phone. This is the thing you're doing right now. Nonverbals. You're nodding. Your body posture indicates you're listening and following along. You're making eye contact. Verbals. Just because the other person is talking doesn't mean you're not active. Say small phrases that show them you're listening and enjoy hearing it, like, oh wow, seriously? Or, oh, good point, or, I see. Stuff like that. Reflection. A lot of people are just dying for their opportunity to talk. If you reflect back on them, it lets them know you're hearing them and you want to know more, and it opens them up more. That must have made you really mad is a good reflection. You must feel heartbroken. I would feel devastated too. Something that labels the feelings they're having, which they may not have done internally yet. What happened next is a good door opener to let them know you still want them to talk and you're here to listen. Empathy. Chances are someone opened up and talked about something challenging. I'm so sorry that happened to you can go a long way in building a connection through empathy. Wow, this is so much. I don't even know what to say, but thank you for sharing it with me. I'm sure this was hard. Works well too. You don't need to be coming up with solutions. Saying, I don't even know what to say is a fine response. Story 4. I don't know if it's considered relationship advice, but when I was around 14 and had my first serious relationship, I went to go see my girl in the evening. Before I went out the door, my dad stopped me and said, son, there's one thing that you should know, and after I tell you, I'll shut up about it. If a girl says no, that means no. I felt really awkward because it seemed obvious, and I felt like my dad saw me as an idiot. 10 years later, I still think about that moment and what my dad said, and I feel so proud of him for pointing out something that is really important. I feel like simple advice like that is not given often enough. Amen. I have told that to all 3 of my boys, and that not saying anything also means no, and being drunk means no, and saying, I don't know, I'm not sure, I guess, if you want to, etc. If the girl is not an active and very willing participant, the answer is no. I feel like no is fairly obvious, but the gray area can be confusing to young men/teens as they haven't really learned nuances and language. So I tell them an affirmative, positive, enthusiastic yes is the only thing that counts for a green light.
I'm going to try and keep this comment real quick, folks, but this kind of advice does not count for just first dates or someone that you've met or, early in a relationship, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. This advice counts in marriage. No matter how long you've been together, partnership, whatever, no means no. And if they're not certain, that's a stop sign. And men, women, non-binaries, whomever, this counts for all of you. If someone doesn't seem into it, make sure that you talk this through, stuff like that. God, more stuff about communication, but do it.
Story 5. Never take each other for granted. Show appreciation often. This, very simple. I've been married 17 years. My wife and I always try to say please and thank you every time I take out the trash or she comes home from the store. This is great. I just wanted to add that it's worth remembering not everyone feels appreciation through words. Find what makes your spouse feel appreciated, whether it's actions or gifts, etc. Good suggestion. I need to be better at that. I'll bring her flowers and stuff every now and then, but hell, just cleaning up the entire house makes her extremely happy. And I am not into cleaning at all, so LOL. Story 6. I love the quote, I don't want you to save me, but can you hold my hand while I save myself? Support with respect is key. From Russian doll, Alan. You promise that if I don't jump, I will be happy? Nadia. No, man, absolutely not, but I can promise you that you will not be alone. I love, find someone who wants you, not someone who needs you. Story 7. Keep in mind that you are not fighting against your significant other during conflicts. You and your significant other are up against the issue. There are a couple verses in a song by one of my favorite native language rappers, which basically goes something like this. At the end of the day, you've got to find someone to join the me against the world team. Stuff's deep. In my language, it rhymes and also is even better. Story 8. Prioritize trust and build a strong foundation on it. Tell the truth even when it's not what the other person wants to hear. They may be disappointed at first, but trust is more important than a bad mood. Never yell at your spouse, kids, anyone unless it's an emergency. That way, they will feel a lot more comfortable telling you the things you don't want to hear. Both are so true. Lying to make things better never works out in the long run. The truth always comes out. Establishing honesty as a core pillar of your relationship. Best advice I ever got. Was married to the next woman I dated and established with this.
If I'm going to rant about communication, I might as well rant about how important trust is. And, communication helps build trust. You need to trust your partner. People who don't trust their partners and are just like, she's going out to a club and she's probably cheating on me or something. Why do you even want to be in that relationship if you can't trust that person to do, if you think the moment you let your eyes off someone that they're going to do something, then why would you be in that relationship? You need to have trust, and that comes with, communicating and stuff. Do what I do with my partner. Have relationship check-ins where you can just openly air any, concerns you may have and stuff. Truthfully. Be truthful.
Story 9. If the grass is greener on the other side, try watering yours. Or be aware that the grass only looks greener because there's bull crap underneath. Story 10. While in a relationship, don't lose yourself as an individual. This is always important, but it's life-shattering when a breakup occurs and one of the people doesn't have their own identity. I'm trying to make my significant other understand this so hard. We have a close group of friends we hang out with pretty regularly. Neither of us really have separate friends or do things separately because of the same friend group, and it is suffocating. I need him to understand that yes, I love and want him in everything I do, but also please get out of my space and go do something for yourself. Absolutely nothing against him, but dear God, go hiking by yourself. Go out and have drinks with the boys. Go walk around the mall for a few hours and just window shop. I don't care. Just do something that does not involve me. When one person is WFH, it's a massive adjustment to have someone always there. Story 11. Be each other's biggest supporter and cheerleader. This is an excellent one. After my sister got in a big fight with her boyfriend, my dad told her, relationships require honesty, not cruelty. You don't need to tell your guy that you noticed the 10 pounds he put on and now find him less attractive as a result. He is aware, and there is absolutely no reason whatsoever to voice it. And remember, there's a big difference between saying, I hate that you are gaining weight, and I would love to see us becoming healthier. For one, you aren't blaming them for the negative, but instead on focusing on getting to a positive outcome. You're also making it a joint effort to get to the better outcome instead of giving the idea that they have to work on it themselves. Story 12. Remember to laugh together and keep the romance alive. A serious relationship should have its moments of utter silliness. Sometimes love means wearing banana bundles as hats and meowing at each other. Story 13. A partner is the cherry on top of a cake. The cake is your responsibility. Translation, a good partner can make you happier in life, but can never make you happy. It is your own responsibility to have a happy and fulfilling life. The inverse is a little different. A bad partner can ruin your happiness, but it is your own responsibility to not let a bad cherry ruin your cake, not let a bad partner ruin your happiness. Man, I have never heard it put this way, but it's the perfect analogy. My wife truly does make my life better, and when I'm feeling down, she picks me up. I feel like a lot of people blame their miserableness on their spouse, when in reality, they're just miserable people. Second, my father's advice to us on our wedding day was similar. You cannot make each other happy, but you can make each other miserable. Also, say thank you more than anything else you say.
I've never heard this expression before or anything quite like it, and I absolutely love it because it's really important. You can't fully rely on your partner to give you happiness. They can enhance your happiness, be a part of your happiness, but if you're completely reliant on them to give your life meaning and happiness, then maybe you need to check in on that, You need to find yourself, be more independent, That's important because A, a relationship might not last and that's going to be bad, but B, your relationship with them is just going to be better if you have your own independent happiness and you're just able to share that with them.
Story 14. Don't look for a relationship just for the sake of being in a relationship. This one is always hard to explain. My now wife and I just started hanging out with each other in college and kept it very casual, and it just ended up building up into the relationship we have now. It sucks to hear if you're single, but the best relationships are the ones that form organically because you aren't actively trying to keep the other's interest. You already have it. It's a tough one. It seems to depend on where you are physically and in life. Hanging out as friends for years before dating works in college when you have a lot of time and lots of people to be friends with, but as an adult, especially in a larger city, people don't have as much free time, aren't so tied down, and move on fast. Dating immediately and growing the friendship alongside the relationship over time sounds equally organic, it's just different. Story 15. It takes a hell of a partner to beat no partner at all. Vet carefully and with a clear head. Does this person add to your life? Is being with them an improvement over your regular solo life? Or are they an effort to be around, to accommodate? Yeah, I'm at the I'd rather be alone for the rest of my days than be with you stage. It's simultaneously empowering and disturbing. Hell, I'm at the even after you have turned everyone that I know, save for family and a couple of my oldest friends, against me, I would still choose this over staying married to you. Being single sucks. Being in a toxic relationship is so much worse. Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.